April 2025. After the music industry is rocked by Elvis Costello's live interview, chaos breaks out. He revealed a long-standing, unsettling conflict with Agnetha, ABBA's adored star, in a few spooky words, shattering her flawless persona, exposing a darkness for which no one was prepared. You've undoubtedly heard about the brief time in the late 17th century when pop and punk clashed awkwardly. Elvis Costello was breaking through the mainstream with his acid tongue and razor-sharp lyrics, while ABBA was at the height of their financial success. However, everything changed one night in 1979. Imagine this. Champagne flowing, egos clashing under the sparkling lights at a smoky industry party in London. Costello and Agnetha clashed there. Two realms that were never supposed to cross paths. It started out as small conversation before the big moment arrived. Always direct, Elvis allegedly mocked ABBA's well-groomed appearance and called Agnetha a puppet. Thean stopped talking. Agnetha's face turned pale, according to witnesses. Then she blew up. She shouted back, but no one heard, but the tension was nuclear. She bounded out. He did not follow. They didn't talk again. However, the events that transpired in that chamber lingered for decades. Costello acknowledged that his resentment persisted not only because of the words but also because of what he witnessed in Agnetha that evening, a woman concealing intense insecurity behind cold control, a performer so delicate and perfection-obsessed that she couldn't stand to be questioned, a celebrity who exuded loneliness in spite of her immense success. And that was only the start. Agnetha's problems extended beyond the stalker and her band. Many were shaken by her notoriety offstage. She had disagreements with influential people in the music business over the years, especially while she was working alone. Behind closed doors, producers discussed her fixation with control. Sessions of recording became tense. Some people sobbed as they left the studio. Some merely declined to collaborate with her once more. She turned down significant partnerships, such as a supposed duet with Phil Collins, on the grounds that she didn't want to share the limelight or give in to pressure from others. Was self-reliance. Others saw it as outright conceit. She was accused of being aloof and contemptuous by a number of well-known Swedish artists. In industry circles, terms like impossible, paranoid, and emotionally unstable were frequently used. In 2004, there was one of the most explosive meltdowns. Agnetha's much-anticipated return album, My Coloring Book, was released following years of silence. The expectations were really high. After agreeing to press interviews and promising a European promotional tour, she vanished. Made a studio call. It's rumored that Joe will remix it once again. It sounds extremely fantastic, so I'm shocked that he will be so stupid as to do it. A preliminary tape of it has been played for me. She only made a few fleeting appearances before calling it quits. No farewell, no explanation. It was a furious label. It had cost millions. Teams had to scramble. Whispers evolved into yelling bouts in hotel rooms, panic attacks, breakdowns, and rumors. According to several insiders, she locked herself in and wouldn't leave. According to others, she sobbed and screamed that she couldn't do it before collapsing backstage. She apparently vowed to destroy the contract and quit music altogether at one point. The public witnessed a tour that was cancelled. Insiders witnessed the breakdown of a woman. Once more. Agnetha was already embroiled in a new type of conflict, one with her own band, behind the harmonies and glitzy stage performances. Only a few years prior, her relationship with Joran Olivios had fallen apart, leading to a public divorce that was far from amicable. Imagine this. Pretending everything was okay while performing heartbreak songs night after night with your ex-husband only a few feet away. No, it wasn't. Behind the scenes, the anxiety was high. Agnetha became more and more aloof as Benny Andersson and any released Lyngstad attempted to guide ABBA. The gaps were only made wider by her refusal to fly because she was afraid of airplanes. She was frequently called difficult by their management, missed studio sessions, and missed promotional tours, but it was more than just tension. She was losing her emotional equilibrium by 1981. Imagine a lady who was caught between being a mother and a celebrity. As the world rejoiced in her accomplishment, Agnetha was secretly struggling with feelings of shame and hopelessness over being separated from her kids. In a rare Swedish interview, she once claimed that her daughter would cry at the window and on the plane whenever she went home. It troubled her. More postponed appearances, odd schedules, and ultimately a complete withdrawal from the spotlight resulted from her wish to remain near her children. However, there was a darker side to that withdrawal. Before ABBA's unofficial separation in 1982, there were rumors circulating in Stockholm's media circles about a breakdown. According to friends, Agnetha developed paranoia, spent days cooped up in her home, and became afraid of being in public. Few people were aware of how much she was suffering, and her fairy tale was falling apart. Agnetha did more than simply back off after ABBA finished. She disappeared. She pulled back into the icy stillness of rural Sweden. He picked the trees, the silence, and the absence of stage lights and applause because he believed that she would be protected by being alone. However, the media didn't let it go. Like wolves, they pursued her, desperate for a sight, a scandal, or any sign of the missing golden girl. There was never any peace. Rather, there was treachery. She had trusted Detective Torbjörn Brander during a vulnerable period, and their brief affair quickly devolved into a media-feeding frenzy. She was in love one day, and the next her most intimate moments were reported by tabloids. He sold her out. Pictures, narratives, and bedroom specifics. There was a cost to everything. Agnetha felt pursued and degraded. Her faith broke like glass. Her heart stopped beating. But things were going to become worse. Gert van de Graaf then came in. He started out as just a fan before becoming well known. And then a gloom that lingered. His awe turned into a terrifying fixation. He moved close to her, followed her, and wrote her letters that were full of illusion and affection. Through her windows, he gazed. She made a police call. Horrified. There was a restraining order. However, he returned. Once more. And once more. And once more. She couldn't exorcise him, he was like a ghost. He managed to get through no matter how many barriers she put up. She began to sleep with the lights on, pacing at night and double-checking each lock. What was before a haven turned into a jail. Her estate felt like a cage, with gates, alarms, and silence all around. Whispers and shadows took over her world. Imagine being a famous person all over the world and hoping to be unnoticed. Once loved by millions, Agnetha was now a recluse who lived in seclusion, haunted by the world. She no longer had her own life. Fear owned it. Behind the curtain, she was disintegrating, piece by fragile piece, while the rest of the world had applauded her. Agnetha wore a frail smile in public. Her appearances, interviews, and facial expressions were all practiced, but beneath the surface, something was breaking down. She was being torn apart from the inside out by the pressure to remain flawless and to be the ideal girl that everyone expected her to be. She had disappeared from the public eye by 2008. No more interviews, no red carpets, no reunions, just quiet. It was survival, not diva behavior. She was at her breaking point. Friends murmured in private about long nights of crying and panic attacks that left her out of breath. She wouldn't take calls. The doors remained locked. Family members were frequently kept apart as well. Even talking to strangers had been intolerable for Agnetha. Although the world had adored her voice, they had never paid much attention to her suffering. Ironically, though, her mythology only became more vivid as she vanished into the background. The image of the naive blonde from ABBA was cherished by fans worldwide. They sent poems, drawings, flowers, and letters. In an attempt to catch a look, several set up camp outside her estate. However, they were unaware of the true Agnetha, the woman behind the scenes. A woman harmed by her history that would not go away, deceived by love, and battered by fame. At one time, she had been exposed to the brightest lights. She was now attempting to live in the dark. Therefore, Elvis Costello didn't merely make disparaging remarks as he opened up this year. He tore the veil off a delusion that had existed for decades. In a few sentences, he made the world realize what had always been hidden, that beneath Agnetha's beautiful appearance and crystal-clear voice, she was a woman engaged in a never-ending battle with herself as well as with the media and others around her. There was more to the Costello confession than mere rumors. Her years-long porcelain mask, which was composed of tunes, smiles, and a quiet so dense it screamed, finally cracked. All of a sudden, it made clear. The barriers she had put up around herself, the breakdowns, and the disappearances. His words reverberated like a verdict on a life lost to obscurity, terror, and unremembered suffering. People let out a gasp. The headlines went crazy. Supporters were split. However, it wasn't shocking to those who had witnessed her disappear from the spotlight. It was affirmation. Verification that the woman who used to light up the largest stages in the world had been silently screaming the entire time. And maybe the world is finally ready to see past the legend, the gold records, and the glitter. To view Agnetha as something much more sad and real, a survivor of a fairy tale that gradually transformed into a nightmare from which she was never able to fully escape, rather than as a pop icon.